Hi, everybody. So we're here again with me and Amelia, and we're going to be talking about sugar today and what you can do without sugar. Um, Amelia and I are pretty devoted to not having too much sugar in our lives, and I cut it out completely recently. So that's been really good for me. How do you feel about sugar?
Going through my own adrenal healing process, healing the nervous system, I really had to limit it um and I've cut off a lot of generational, you know, sugar handling issues, shall we say.
Mhm.
Um and so um but then I also recently integrated a shadow that wanted sugar. So I kind of went on a little mini, like, I'm having a little bit more than I ever do, to, okay, let's back it off again. So it's like I needed a little reset with that. So I typically don't have any cane sugar, or very minimal. I do have children, so if it's their birthday or something, I'll have a little bit. But I tend to restrict it. I'll drink kombucha on occasion, which has some residual, but mostly fermented sugars,
Yeah.
um, and things like that. But typically, no, I'll stick to honey, is one of my favorites personally, now that I've done so much healing work. But when you're really in the early stages of healing, you probably want to stick to the other sugars,
Mhm.
or sugar-like substances. Um, and some people do really well with certain ones over others. So just figure out what works best for you. And which ones are your favorites, honey?
So monk fruit's probably my favorite. I am getting ready to try a new one. So this is monk fruit, and I get the pure monk fruit. I don't get the stuff that's cut with, I think it's called I can't.
Oh,
It's an alcohol
y
sugar. I don't
yeah,
use.
I don't like that one either. Erythritol.
Yes,
Eryth Yeah,
I can't pronounce it.
I know.
And then
I
I just got this, and it's called allulose.
hmm.
And I'm excited to try it. You don't want to have too much at once because it will cause like you having to go to the bathroom.
Ooh.
But it's really good, I guess, for baked goods and stuff, and you can mix the monk fruit with it. So you can
Hmm.
actually buy it with pure monk fruit added. And it's very good just, as a substitute, and it has zero impact on your blood sugar. So those are the two that I'm probably going to be using for a while as far as not impacting the blood sugar. And I
Hmm.
really wanted to start doing some baking. So I bought this, and I bought it used off of Amazon, every last crumb. And it was $7, you guys. So like the stuff in here is so amazingly yummy looking. Um, there's a lot of alternative flour, which I actually like spelt quite a bit.
Love spelt.
Yeah, so spelt, and
So
then I
good.
want to mix in some hemp flour
Mm.
because it's really high protein. But so I'll probably experiment with the flours a little bit because they use a lot of coconut flour, which I don't love.
Mm.
Um, but I mean, these recipes look amazing, so I'm very excited. So there's one
That's
way,
awesome.
is to get a book that has some recipes in there for you, you know. Um, but what are the other sugars, Amelia, that you can have that?
Some people do well with stevia. And it's important to get a stevia that's brown and not clear,
Mhm.
because the clear ones are over processed, and it used to give me headaches, so I will only use stevia sweetened products from sources I trust. It can, impact your gut microbiome a little bit, since it
Um,
is kind of antimicrobial. So if you're trying to work on gut healing, that might not be the best one. Um,
is that the
Coconut.
one that if you're trying to have, so we're not doctors, let's make that clear. We're not doctors, we're not saying to do anything this is for your information only, so do
Yep.
your research. But
Yes.
isn't stevia one of the ones that like impacts fertility?
Ooh, I don't recall. Let's just ask. I think you're
Yeah,
right. And then it also does something else I recently learned. And I bought a stevia plant once just to try it. And I just ate a part of the leaf, and it was very, very sweet, just alone. So you could even just
yeah.
put a little
That's how it was
leaf.
discovered. There was a guy in Florida, I think, or something, and he was using
Hmm.
it in his iced tea and he was diabetic. So
Oh,
he discovered it and he realized that it wasn't impacting his blood sugar.
that's cool. I did not
Yeah.
know that.
So, I mean, if it's a plant, I think it would be probably great. Sometimes it's really bitter, like later. The aftertaste is really
Yes.
bitter.
The
I'm not the
aftertaste,
biggest fan of stevia.
I'm not either. I don't buy it in the drops, and it almost had the aftertaste of like, 25 plus years ago when I tried one or two diet sodas. I'm like, this is disgusting. Before I knew anything about nutrition, and it had the same aftertaste to me.
Yeah.
And so, but that's the overly processed stevias, I think, too.
Hmm.
If you get it more properly processed. I don't know a current brand. Young Living had one for a while, but they haven't produced that in a while. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I like
um,
dates. There's a date candy that you can create that like you pit the dates and you spread them out on like parchment paper in a pan, obviously. And then you put a nut butter over the top of them, and then you put melted chocolate over the top of that and a little bit of salt. And it tastes kind of like Snickers. I'm trying not to do peanut butter too much, so I just started actually using walnut butter,
yum, I love
and
walnut
that's
butter.
so good. So, you know, experiment a little bit, but
Hmm.
that's a pretty great candy because dates are full of minerals and good stuff for you
Hmm.
and fiber, and they're so sweet too. So,
They're really good. And one thing I should mention too is you can self muscle test a lot of these
mhm.
different sugars. If I don't bring my pendulum with me to the grocery store, I use anything that swings to muscle test. Should I get this one for my body? Um, so I know I'm the crazy shopper yeah,
That's
it's
okay.
funny. There's
I'm
lots of ways to
gonna
do it.
be as weird as you want to be at this point. Like, who
Oh
cares?
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care. I think it's funny.
Uh,
My kids are like, Mom, but they're teenagers, so of course they
yeah.
don't feel like that. Um,
Oh, that's funny.
so yeah, because it can change seasonally too. So you might do really well with the honey in fall, but maybe you need more of a less impactful sugar in the spring. So
Yeah. Yeah.
your body changes.
It really does. And honey's got tons of enzymes that are really good for your body in it.
Hmm.
Wood is better as far as like dipping into the honey. The stainless
Yes.
steel is actually not great for the honey.
Hmm.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I just got a dispenser and then I
Hmm.
realized, oh, it's metal on the bottom. That's dumb.
Yes,
Like,
I used to have one of those too.
yeah,
Hmm.
I'm like, oh my God, I just ordered this thing and now I don't want to use it.
I
So,
know I have to
yeah,
simplify a lot in my life, but um
yep.
yeah, find a raw source of local honey too. That's
Hmm.
really important. That hasn't been overly processed because they'll cut it with corn syrup and they may not label it so.
Yeah.
So get a high quality one if you
And there's a
can.
lot of people that produce raw local honey and you can find it.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
we get it like at the little tiny local health food store. They'll have local honey.
Hmm.
And it's expensive, but I mean, it is worth it. So,
It is. You don't need
yeah,
much. And yeah, I
you
just
don't need
drive
a
around the
lot.
corner and there's a place you can just put your money in and you take a jar of honey. So,
Yeah, I think that's great. I love
hmm,
that idea, those little stands.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of any other kind of sugar. Coconut.
Coconut sugar I love personally for
Yeah.
myself, maple syrup. The coconut sugar is really easy to bake with because you can almost just do 1-to-1
Yeah.
ratio.
And it's not as
Um,
intensely sweet. It's not so
mhm,
like blatantly sweet. I don't know
yeah,
about you, but like frosting and stuff, I'm just like, oh,
I've
it's
never
so
liked that.
intense. Oh, I used to love it. I could just
Yeah.
have like spoons full of frosting in the past, and now I'm just like, oh my God, that is so intense.
Now
So I'm
I
not
must
into
have
it.
always been a little um blood sugar sensitive because even when I was a kid, I would scrape it off, and I didn't like milk
Oh,
chocolate. I didn't really like chocolate at all either. I know it's odd, but
that's
I
okay.
think I was sensitive to it for a long, long time until I cleared it. Now I can have a little and I'm like, that's fine, but I don't crave it. Um, and so I was going somewhere with that, but I kind of lost it. So,
It's okay. Yeah. We didn't have as much sugar as kids, I think, because my parents were very into health stuff.
mhm.
So if you got sick, you had to have like golden seal mixed with honey, which was like the most horrible thing in the
It's
world.
strong.
Yeah,
That's a
so
strong one.
strong. Just kind of nasty tasting things that you were getting always mixed with honey in a spoon. I was getting a lot of
Yes.
that stuff as a kid because I was sick all the time. Um, but we didn't have a whole lot of sugar unless the fruit trees were bearing fruit. Then it was time for pie, and we would eat pie all the time. So I don't think I really had the big sugar thing as a kid, but man, once we were let loose, we wanted sugar because we didn't have that much of it.
Yep.
And that's another thing, to be aware of with children. Like, say, okay, you're going to get to have this sugar now. So pay attention to how you feel after you have it and see if it's really good for you. Because it's 8 times
Yes.
more addictive than a certain other white substance that people put up their nose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. With having teenagers, they have access now to whatever they pretty much want, things that I would not allow in the house when they were younger.
Hmm.
So I'm really trying not to be too restrictive so they have that opportunity to see, you know, even though I tell them, and my youngest is like, Mom, you're in my head. My oldest is like, I don't care. So that's where we're at the moment. But they
Yeah.
still make choices that I cringe at, and I did too at their age. So,
Hmm.
um, but also I think it's important to note the emotional connections to the pancreas and our craving of sugar and maybe the gut microbiome.
Yeah.
And if you have a lot of imbalance with gut bacteria, whatever's going on in there, biofilm, but joy is directly associated with the pancreas. And what do people want to try to fill up when they're eating sweets? They tend to go, I need to feel better. Let's have some sugar.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so looking at any of those emotional patterns too is helpful to heal too. And you can reset those and let those go and really just intuitively see what your body really needs. Because usually when you're craving sugar, your body's actually craving fat. So,
Yeah.
maybe making people like to eat fat bombs, or maybe you make a nut butter ball that has extra fat in it that you can just quickly pop in your mouth instead. And that can be sweetened with a little honey,
Mhm.
so it still has that fat mixed with the sugar. Um, and that helps the body to assimilate the sugars a little better if you have a lot of fat and protein with it at the same time.
Mhm.
So, just
Yeah.
some little extra tidbits to consider.
I think that's really important because we've been told that fat is the enemy
Hmm.
and sugar is like been what's been substituted for the fat, whereas it's the other way around. And fat is also the vehicle where most of the vitamins get into your body.
Yeah.
And, so where you're getting even less of your vitamins from your food because you're not
Hmm.
eating any fat. So you want to have good fats. And we can just bring
Yes.
that up a little bit.
Yeah, the healthy fats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
coconut oil, avocado oil, olive
Grass-fed
oil,
butter.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
butter, um,
Yeah.
ghee,
I would do a non-pork lard personally, if you
yes.
find a good source for that.
There's a lot of pork stuff that I
And that's
wouldn't
hard.
do. Pork is scary.
Yes. Yes.
There's
Yes, it is.
reasons, and we talked about that years ago, and I'm not gonna bring it up, but and all the nuts, they have fat in them,
Mm-hmm.
which is good, but you want to be kind of careful with nuts because they also have leptins, so don't go too
Yeah.
crazy. I can't really think of anything else.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I would use too. That's pretty much the basics, keeping it simple. No canola oils or seed oils or any of those hydrogenated anything. I
Yeah,
even saw on a label hydrogenated coconut. I'm like, No,
no. No.
no.
And really, when you go into the grocery store, if you can stay on the outside of the grocery store and you can make some of your own food, you're going to be a
Hmm.
lot better off.
Yeah, and keeping it simple. If you're not sure what to use from all these things, just pick a high quality protein, some high quality vegetables
Hmm.
that make the most sense, and organic fruits, and start small and then build from there. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's really helpful.
yeah.
So, and I feel like maybe we'll do a protein one soon
Hmm.
because that's important, especially so as you age, you need more protein. And I think that a lot of what we're doing right now, you need more protein. And that doesn't have to come from flesh of an animal, but
True.
do keep in mind that protein, I mean, plants and animals, they're both sentient. Everybody's sentient pretty much. Um, but you can get protein from like whey. So I get goat milk whey and I
Hmm.
put it into yogurt made from sheep. So we'll talk about all that, but I feel like that's an important subject too.
Definitely. It's the building
Yeah.
blocks of our cells.
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Amelia. This was
Thank
great. And we'll
you.
have lots of links below so that you guys have an idea of what to go look at. Okay. All right. Bye.
Bye.